Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr Podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. Guys, I have so many stand-up dates coming up, and it's for a very special reason. I am going to be recording my first album. I've only been doing stand-up 11 years. Yeah, it's time to record an album. I tried to record one a couple years ago, and then my mom died, so all those plans got derailed. But I'm recording an album on January 6th at Governor's in Levittown. It is going to be a little bit January 6th themed in a fun way. I'm definitely going to, nod to the fact that I was there on that historic day. So many stand-up dates leading up to this recording. I'm going to be in Morris Plains, New Jersey, December 11th, back in Morris Plains at Tiff's Ale House, the Dojo of Comedy, with the comedians of the compound. And then I'll be headlining in Hartford, Connecticut that next day on December 12th. And then I'll be in Little Rock, Arkansas, December 13th. And then I'll be in Dallas, Texas with Aaron Berg and Anthony Cumia. That's the 15th and 16th. And then, a couple more dates leading up to this album recording. So I'm so stoked and a little bit shitting my pants. But it's overdue. It's overdue. It was overdue 3 years ago when I first attempted this. So I'm very excited and it needs to happen. And I'm sick of people being like, I need to find your stand-up, Chrissy. And then they find like a very old YouTube clip and they're like, oh, she sucks. So at least listen to the album. And then if I suck, at least, well, I've tried. So yes, very exciting about that. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. It's pretty cool that I've never had a sponsor before that's been actually a Substack, which is kind of another way of saying a blog. So there is this very cool Substack called Standalone. Let me find the read, or have I lost it completely? Standalone is a Substack by Melissa McCutcheon, and it's basically you go to standalone.substack.com. Let me see if I can pull it up here on the screen. We're getting back into the swing of things, guys. It was my birthday on Thursday. I turned 38. I don't feel 38. I feel the same. I think that's the trick of aging is you're just you and you're either in better health or worse health. I figured it out, guys. Anyway, here's the Substack here, standalone.substack.com. Standalone. It was written by this woman, Melissa McCutcheon, and she talks about how she actually had to leave academia because of how corrupt it was. And she has a really great firsthand account. So you can go on here and she's got different like tidbits, like how to handle all the issues that we talk about, free speech being in danger, the woke kind of taking over, the different traps that we fall into. So highly recommend you guys subscribe to this Substack, which I didn't even hear about before I heard about this one, but it's standalone.substack.com. Check it out, guys. Very cool, interesting read. And yeah, I'm very excited to have this gal on. She is a regular on my other show, Wet Spot on Compound Media. And if you're a fan of the Chip Chipperson Podcast, you will recognize her right away as she is the co-host of the Chip Chipperson Podcast. She does many things. Zia Land!
Hi!
Zia Anderson, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me on. Happy birthday. You absolutely do not look 38. I 100% thought you were like 32.
Stop. And like
really
every woman who's kind of a little bit public, I don't know if you've ever thought of this, but I feel like there comes a time where you're like, am I gonna lie about my age or am I not? And I was just like, I can't, because it's just, I have to, first it's a lie you have to keep track of. You're like, what am I telling people this year? And I've also over the years, I've known men over the years who have lied about their age, men in stand-up, and I have immediately lost respect for them. It's like, men, like, you guys are the ones that you are allowed to age. Like, come on. It's like So
yeah, guys a lot of times will look better with age. Like it's
yeah.
ridiculously unfair. Like I'll see guys when they're younger and as they get older, I'm like, oh, you actually look better now. What is this bullshit? And I'm over here like, oh God, in the mirror, like, is that her fucking wrinkle? I don't like talking about my age. You're right. If you're in the, like, I don't lie about it. I've said it before and I think some people know, but I just don't like talking about it. Like people will come into my Twitch chat and ask me and I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, it is annoying. And it's
yeah.
like sometimes people want to focus on it, some people don't. And I don't know. I mean, I would guess that you're like 23 years old, but I don't know.
love you so much for saying that.
You're like a child to me. I feel like I look at you and I want to ask you about your paper route. I want to ask you if you have a lifeguarding job because that's the vibe I'm getting from you, Zia. You're like a
lifeguard
babysitter.
shorts.
Not even from a kink standpoint. You're giving off a lot of babysitter vibes. I'm sure the chat will agree. But yeah, I just was like, I would rather let me shoot for looking really good for my age than rather people be like, oh, I think she's lying or maybe she doesn't. Like, I don't know. I'd rather be like I'd rather give off like hot step girlfriend, stepmom vibes.
You're killing it. You're killing it. You look. I did not think you were 38 at all. No, seriously. Like I'm surprised. I am actually surprised to hear that. I completely thought that you were way younger than that.
Stop. I think it's not having kids, to be honest, because I get plenty of sleep. I look at women who are younger than me and are mothers, and I love and respect mothers and who knows? I might be one day. I got to figure it out though. Pretty soon.
Science will catch up.
Do that. But I look at these moms and so many of them just look like shit. And like, no disrespect. I know being a mom is hard work, but it's like, do you have to completely cash in taking care of yourself to be a mom? Because I've seen way too many examples of ones that do rather than ones that go, all right. Like, and I know, you know, a lot of moms don't get enough help. Even if they're not single moms, you know, my mom never got enough help. And then every time she asked for help, it would be a fight between her and my dad. My dad would be like, I handle outside the house. You handle inside the house. And the kids happen to be inside the house.
Oh, what happens when the kids are outside of the house? Is that his jurisdiction?
He'd be like,
they have to like go to soccer practice.
I gotta go on estimates. No, my dad was very good at driving us to practices. I will give him that. And he was very good. He was an active service guy and he basically could have been a mechanic. That's how much car knowledge he has. I talk like him. He's still alive. Okay. It's my mom who's gone. But like my dad, like he could change your oil. He'll fill your gas tank up. He will go get your thing fixed. And you know, he knew all the guys at the mechanic place. He would get us cars for free, like all the time. So that's very amazing. Good at like it would fix stuff around the house. All the stuff now, like as an adult, I'm like, oh yeah, that's not a given. Like not any guy you're with is not just going to be like, oh yeah, let me fix your carburetor. No big deal.
Yeah, no, that's like, I think usually guys these days, especially just call AAA. They're like, we got AAA. And that's, which is helpful, but yeah, it's not the same. My best friend's dad also was like that, like mechanic, and he would work on her car and fix her car and do all of that. And because my dad's not that kind of guy. And I was watching it, I was like, man, this is amazing because I have to take my car in all the time and it costs so much fucking money. So if you have someone that can do that, that's awesome.
And that's the mystery of it is like, you don't really know how much this shit costs to have done. Like I got a car for free, but it needed $1,000 worth of work because I let it sit in the driveway for like a month plus or whatever, or I wasn't driving it enough. Apparently these were related to my not driving it enough. And the whole power steering belt needed to be charged. And this guy is like, oh, this particular is a real pain in the ass job. It normally is quick, but this one's going to take like 3 hours. I'm like, is this his script? Like, does he know I'm like a dumb woman and I'm not going to be able to tell how much work is involved in this job? And that was when I was like, fuck, I kind of wish my dad was here to look at this to be like, is he lying? Is this something like that $1,000? It's like not nothing. Although and then I'm like, all right, well, I got the car for free. So I'll just tell myself I bought it for $1,000, but I'll never know. I'll never know if it was an annoying job or not. I just had to trust Tom, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that all the time. Whenever I take my car in, I try to do as much research beforehand because, and a lot of, you know, it's not all mechanics are like that. Like I've been to really awesome, great mechanics and everything, but there are definitely ones that will take advantage of you, especially if you walk in as a girl and they're like, oh, this fucking idiot doesn't know what she's talking about. And I fucking don't. So I'm like, God damn it. Like, are we, especially when it's an expensive job, they're like, it's going to cost $2,000 for blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, oh, is it really?
In my mind, I was like, I really didn't want to spend more than 8. I don't know, but that's the thing is I don't fucking know. And the chat seems to think that I was hoodwinked. What is even the point? I was like, oh, should I talk to my dad about it? So what? He can tell me that I was dumb and paid too much. I don't have time to like shop around with different mechanics. I don't have time to learn to change my own power steering. This was like a Ford. By the way, this is an old car. This is like a 2010 car. And I was like, do you foresee other shit falling apart on this car? He was like, no, the Ford Focuses are pretty good cars. So I don't know. He had a kind of a trusting face, but I don't know. I don't know if it's because of my upbringing, my dad and all his buddies were car guys. So maybe I'm trusting that because, you know what I mean? That's what I grew up in. The smell of oil is like comforting to me. Like gas stations are. Frank was making fun of me for this the other day. I'm like, I feel like at ease in a gas station, like around mechanics, because I just feel like they're real dudes.
That's that for me, my feeling at ease and like that nostalgia comfort smell is like stale beer and cigarettes, because I grew up around my dad having like band practice with all the guys and like drinking and parties and weed too, like all that stuff.
Your dad is in a band?
Yeah, he still is. He plays with his wife now, but yeah, he played drums in like a rock band, a few different rock bands, like hard rock, bordering on metal, but not quite. He's a great drummer. Cool. Yeah, it was awesome. So like I essentially grew up around music and parties and always like big gatherings, and so that was super normal for me growing up. So yeah, I like that smell. It's very weird, but I love it.
I feel you, because when I see or smell a Heineken, I'm like, oh, that's dad. Like he always had like 7 empty Heinekens around him at all times. So, and then he eventually switched to Beck's, and now he's kind of in a Stella place. So, yeah. And then, because your dad was a drummer, was he kind of, and he's probably around drugs and like that fun lifestyle. As a parent, was he very much like stay away from drugs? Like, was he giving it to you straight or?
No, it was just kind of like he wanted me to do good. He was kind of like one of those I was a really smart, very like nerdy kid growing up. I read a lot of books. I got like straight A's up until high school, and then I kind of like lost my shit like halfway through high school. The anxiety started getting really bad. But anyway, I was a very like nerdy, studious kid who was constantly reading, and my dad loved that. And he was like, yeah, I want you to be really smart, get scholarships, go to college, do all of that stuff. But he was very much just like, meh. And we were left to our own devices so much. And I've seen my dad do coke. I've seen him take pills.
What?
Oh, yeah. I've gotten drunk with my dad a lot.
All right. I don't know what it is about coke, but it's just, that's a very druggy type drug. Maybe
it feels like it. No, you're not. Coke is one of those things that some people can do. I've done it twice, and it's not for me. I was not a fan. I was like, I don't really understand why people like this. But it's one of those drugs that I think some people can kind of do casually, but a lot of people can't. But it's not quite to like heroin or meth levels. You know what I mean? It's like between weed and heroin, I feel like. Okay. It's one of those.
Yeah.
But
it used to be that weed was the gateway drug. I think now it's moved up a little bit.
It's moved up a bit. Yeah. My sister was fine when she was just smoking weed, when she was just a little pothead. And then she started doing coke. And then, all of a sudden she's a meth head. And we're like, okay.
Oh, no. Wow.
She's yeah.
So, okay. Interesting. Do you feel like your dad or like your parents kind of, well, it's hard to know. All you know is the life you've led. I was going to say like, oh, do you feel like you leaned towards it more because you saw it around you growing up? But
no, I would say for me, it just desensitized me a little bit to a point where like, kind of a lot of these things aren't necessarily a big deal. And for me, it was okay because I got exposed to this stuff and I tried it. And then not everything, like I never did meth or heroin or anything like that, like nothing hardcore. And I tried a few things and I was like, all right, this is whatever. And now I don't do anything. Like I'm sober from alcohol because I've had problems with that. But when it came to drugs and stuff like that, I never had any issues. And I was like, all right, I've tried this out. Some of it's fun, some of it's not so fun, and I'm good. Like, I don't know. I was never a problem for me, and I think a lot of that depends on the person. My sister clearly has a very addictive personality, and drugs are, her pretty much, well, alcohol too, but drugs are, they fucked her up really bad.
Are you guys close?
Yeah, we were really close growing up. So we lost our mom when we were young. I was 6. I was almost 6, and she was 3 or 2 or 3. Yeah, she was really young. And my dad is, he was off playing his music and doing his thing, and he loved us, but he wasn't like the most attentive parent. So, and he's a very sweet man, and was always very loving and around and took care of us, but he was just kind of off doing whatever he was doing. So it was really me and my sister growing up a lot of the time.
Did you feel like you had to kind of take care of her?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And my dad sometimes too. Felt like I was taking care of my dad sometimes.
That's what happens. Like, when your parents aren't really fully present, I was kind of like that way too, but like my parents weren't doing drugs. They just like, I feel like emotionally they needed a lot from me. And so in that way, I felt like the roles were reversed. But man, that is very young to lose a mom. I feel like, oh man, I bitch. Like I lost my mom at, what was it? I was like 35, 30. Yeah. I was like 35. No, 34 when I lost my mom. And then I'm like, oh, she got to have her mom till she was 67. And most people have their mom until, they're like 80s, 90s. She was like 71 and she died. But then, right? Like you lost your mom super early. So
she was young. I don't think it matters when you lose your parent. It's going to suck no matter what. Like
it's going to be, nothing prepares you. Nothing can possibly prepare you. You're just like, oh, but you just have this flung into space feeling. Like you are catapulted into being on your own. Enjoy. Like you have all your memories you're ever going to have. There's no more new pictures of your mom that are going to come out. There's just like, woof. There's no
Can't
more
call
like
them.
Yeah.
Can't be like, you ever get, I mean, I didn't have this because I was so young when I lost her, but I've heard other people talk about this, have that feeling where something good happens or like you get excited or you get bad news or whatever. And you're like, oh, I want to call my mom. And then that realization hits you that you can't.
Oh yeah. And there's so many days that remind me of her. Like you think, oh, it's just going to be, she died in August 2nd. Like, all right, her death day obviously is going to be a thing. Well, but then her birthday was like in July, and then it's Mother's Day, and then it's my birthday, which just happened. I'm like, fuck, it's so many days. Oh, and now it's like also the summer because she just loved summer. Like that was her. That's when she was sort of like come alive, and she'd like go to the pool and like to chat everybody up, and then it's like also New Year's because there was a funny story from New Year's where she like didn't know what bottle service was, so she just thought everybody had free juice out. So she was like, "Oh, I have some cranberry." I'm like, "Mom, that goes with their alcohol. That's not for you." So, yeah. Oh my God, though. But you lost your mom so early, so it's almost like, is it better in a way because I don't think I have any memories from like being 6.
I remember very few things about her. I remember a few things, like I remember her cleaning. I remember one time my dad forgot to pick me up from preschool. And so I was the last kid sitting there, and my mom runs up all frantic and covered in paint because she had just been painting our house or whatever. And she like came to get me. I remember that, like things like that, small things, but not a lot. I remember the night she died really clearly. That I do remember. I think probably because it was very traumatic. So you sort of like hold on to that sort of stuff. But yeah,
what happened, if you don't mind me asking?
It's okay. It was a long time ago, so I talk about it. It was a car accident.
Oh my God. Ugh.
Yeah, it was one of those shitty things where there's not like anything you can do about it. You're not prepared for it. The neighbors called the cops because my dad was crying so loud on the porch, and that's what woke me up, was my dad crying. And then the cops, it's a small island and everyone knows my dad. He's like one of those really big personality guys. Yeah, from Hawaii, exactly. Sorry, I feel like I didn't say that. So the cops already knew what happened, so they didn't even come. They were just like, it's one of those things.
Everybody knew each other's business.
Yeah.
You hear the news. Oh my God. Wow. It's weird. Grief does like I never heard my brother cry. Like I never heard him make this noise ever in his life. But when it was like the last time we were going to visit my mom, it was like July. She passed in August. So it was either like June or July. And he had come out just for like 24 hours just to see how bad she had gotten, because like, I don't know. I think her and my dad, and maybe also like they did a shitty job of communicating like how terminal she was and her timeline and how bad she was getting. So my brother and like I were
It's
just like, we gotta
horrible.
see like what's going on here. And she was bad. And then oh my God, my brother cried not just loud, but like in a way that I'll never be able to forget. And I'm like, holy shit, because it's like he's basically saying you're saying goodbye to an alive person already. It's like you can tell. And she was such a like bright and funny, lively person that like, and like the pieces of her that went first were like her personality, like her speech, because she had a tumor on her vocal motor part of her brain. And so like her speech, her writing went first. It's like she could understand, but she couldn't really respond, and that would frustrate her. And like, oh my God, yeah, I've like never heard my brother cry like that. Like if had it been under different circumstances, I should have made fun of him for that cry. It was an ugly cry. It was like it was a wail, and I was like, damn boy.
That's just like that raw emotion coming out, and like you don't know, especially with something like that, seeing someone that you love like slip away like that before they're even gone. I feel like it's just that raw emotion. And how do you get that out? It's like kids when they cry and freak out and scream, it's because they don't know how to regulate emotion. They don't know how to express their emotion. And I feel like it's kind of the similar thing. Like even though you're an adult and you sort of know that stuff, you can still get overwhelmed with emotion.
Yeah. Well, as an adult, you're kind of, it's a positive to be able to control your emotions. It's like, I feel like more so for guys, like the ability to like get work done and compartmentalize and hold it together and be strong is almost kind of expected of men. But then of course, as a woman, like you do kind of lose respect if you are too emotional, especially like, you know, at inopportune times or at work or whatever. If you're just like a woman that's like, hold it together. And it's that scene of the woman on the plane being slapped over and over again. Sometimes I feel like I need that. But so as in our adult lives, it's like we have to train ourselves to hold it together. But then when you are overcome with grief, like you just have to let it out. You have to just let yourself be messy. I cried in the shower so much, and it was like, but I like to cry. So I'm just like, oh, I got to set aside time to like listen to Sia cry in the shower. And then you're like, well, it's going to hit you just at random times, and you just got to be like, this is what I'm doing right now.
And sometimes it does feel therapeutic and good to cry. Like I don't like crying. I'm not a fan. It makes me feel weird and uncomfortable. I don't cry too often either. But when I do sometimes, like if I get really sad and I'm crying about something, like I think the last time I cried was because I hadn't seen my niece in so long, and I saw a picture of her and I was like, she's so big. And I was so like, I didn't even know where it came from.
Yeah. I have a niece and nephew too, and I haven't seen them since maybe 2019. God, was it pre-pandemic? Wow. And now I just see pictures and I'm like, oh, she's getting bigger without my being there. Like I have to go visit, and it's yeah. And you're like, oh my God, they're out of like the little phase, but they're so cute. I'm so happy my brother had kids. So he's such a good dad. Yeah.
I'm happy my sister had kids too, even though she's in jail now and a disaster. But her kids are, well, I haven't even met my nephew. He's been in Hawaii I haven't been home since I left, which is insane. I haven't been home since 2013. So I need to get back at some point. But my little sister had a son and a daughter. And I haven't met my nephew, but my niece is, oh my God, she's so sweet and so special. She speaks Hawaiian fluently. She speaks and reads and writes Hawaiian fluently. She obviously speaks English too. But
am I dumb for not knowing Hawaii? Hawaii had their own language. It's Polynesian, right? Or is that the culture?
That's the culture. But yeah, Hawaii, there's a Hawaiian language and there's a Pidgin. You're not dumb at all. Who gives a shit about it? Hawaii is this tiny island.
Can you say something in Hawaiian?
I know like random words and phrases, like mahalo means thank you. And a lot of people don't know that there's not really a word for you're welcome, but you could say like a'ole pilikia, which means like no problem. Things that I grew up saying like
mele kalikimaka is a thing to say.
Yeah, mele kalikimaka is Merry Christmas. Oh, and for your birthday, ha'oli lahanau. Happy birthday.
Ha'oli lahanau. It kind of just all sounds like 3 different words that you alternate.
Yeah, I think the alphabet is like 12 letters or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a small letter. I don't know if it's a small language, but it's a cool language. I wish I knew more of it, but I know Pigeon, which is, I regret saying that because Pigeon's a super weird language.
Oh, I do too. Want to hear some?
Yes. Should have known. Perfect. Every pigeon knows.
And then just pecking.
Killed it. Killed it.
What did you just say? How did you get on how did you get to be the co-host of the Chip Chipperson podcast? How did he find you?
Oh, I found him kind of. So I was a fan of Chip since he started the podcast, excuse me. Can't fuck that up. I was a fan since he started the podcast. I fucking love Chip. It's so stupid. It makes me laugh so hard.
It does. Yeah.
Yes, it's ridiculous. I love it. And I love Jim. My dad was a big comedy guy. So I grew up knowing like who Jim Norton was and a lot of those.
Wow. Okay.
But I wasn't aware of Chip. Yeah, as a fan. But I wasn't aware of Chip until I met my husband, Nick, because he was the producer for Ron and Fez.
Who I adore, is like a genuinely nice guy. Like,
he is so sweet.
So many girls that I have on the show, like they bring on their husbands or their boyfriends, and then they're like, one is trashier than the next. I'm not going to name names, but I'm just like, oh, God. It's like a lot of them are just hangers on, like, especially because a lot of them are like porn girls and adult film stars. And I'm like, like you are just clinging to youth, you know what I mean? Like affliction shirts. I don't know.
No.
I see no judging. But I'm just like, I am judgy.
I'm judging. As soon as you said affliction shirts, I was like, oh, I know those guys. Tap out shirts,
many
hats.
Rings.
Like,
I'm just like, you are with her because it like she validates your virality or whatever. Vitality, I don't know. Man stuff. I get it.
Either or. Same. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Everyone wants to be with a hot girl. I get it. But I'm just like, oh, it's like a stereotype almost. But anyway, yeah. Nick is a delight, like just a joyful, good soul.
He is. He's a sweet boy. He's a good egg. And he's super supportive and awesome, which is great. Like he's like the biggest supporter of everything that I do, which is awesome. Because if you are not with someone who's like that, it's going to make the relationship difficult and it's going to make what you're doing difficult. But yeah, I was a fan and so Nick introduced me to Chip because he was the big O&A guy and he was the producer for Ron and Fez. And so he was like, oh yeah, this is this character that Jim does. And I started watching it and my sense of humor is ridiculous. So I immediately was like, this is amazing. So we were watching all of them and they were out, Jim and Sam were out in LA when I was living there to, I think for like a week, and they were recording at AfterBuzz where I was hosting at the time. So I was doing like various after shows, Marvel Movie News, Marvel News Daily. I did a lot of Marvel stuff. I love Marvel.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I did.
I should try to get you on Friday Night Tights. They would love you.
That'd be awesome. Did they talk nerd stuff? I feel like I've heard them before.
It's almost all nerd stuff. Yeah, nerd stuff, pop culture stuff, like how like the woke is sort of killing our nostalgia and our.
Oh yeah. I don't like to go on those rants, but yeah. But so anyway, they were out there and they were recording, and I had just gotten done with the show at AfterBuzz, and Phil was like, "Oh, you're a big fan of Chip, aren't you? They're recording here in 20 minutes. Do you want to be on?" And I was like, "Yes, I fucking absolutely want to be on." And so they put me on. I wasn't even supposed to be on the show, and I was in one of the other.
What year was this?
This was, I think, 2017, 2018, something like that. I can't remember exactly. It was a few years ago. And I was in the room with the other girls before we went in. The other girls were like, oh, wait, you know what this is? Like, what is this? Because they didn't know what it was. And I wouldn't tell them. They were really unhappy with me. I was like, you'll see, it's going to be really fun. They fucking hated me for it.
Oh, no.
So,
there's not much to figure out. You're just like.
It's obviously a character show. Like, anyone that goes on and is confused, I'm like, you're so fucking stupid. Like, it's obviously a character. It might be weird, but you're still dumb for not realizing that it's like a weird character.
If you don't know who Jim Norton is, it's still a funny character. It's just goofy.
Yeah.
It's just like, all right, just yes and it, you know?
Exactly, which I feel like is not too hard. So they basically were like, you have to act like you don't know who he is because that's the bit. And I was like, sure, I can do that. No problem. So I went on, and then Chip was gone for a little bit, and then in the pandemic he brought it back because he couldn't do stand-up anymore.
He was at Gas Digital. He would record like above the Comedy Cellar,
Yes.
Not gas, Riotcast.
Not gas. Riotcast. Yeah.
Riotcast, which was above the cellar.
Bobby.
They would record there. And then I think he was going to stop doing the show altogether.
Yeah.
Like he had hung it up.
Yep. He retired Chip Chipperson. And then he brought it back in the pandemic. And so I reached out, I emailed him and was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. I was on once. I would really love it if I could, if you'd have me back on. And he was like, email back, was like, yes, of course. Like, I would love to have you on. And I emailed him a couple more times after that to like kind of nudge him. Cause sometimes, you know, and I was just like, what?
Yeah, he gets very busy and like forgets.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on. And I was like, what have I got to lose? Fuck it. Who cares? So I just, reached out and then started coming on more and more. And it's been fucking awesome. I have so much fun on Chip. I love it.
And how did you get to be kind of a co-host just from being on it so often? And just being like, I'm going to take the lead. I'm going to like organize this.
Well, it was one of those things where I was on so much and I feel like I kind of took over the role of like Krystyna and Lauren, who I thought both of them were great. When Lauren left Chip, I remember being like, why would she leave? She's Lauren? Perfect.
Is she the blonde?
No, she was the brunette. She was the first not co-host. It was producer. She was like the first producer for Chip.
Okay. Because I know Krystyna, she was so sweet. She had like a very long commute back and forth from like, I think Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And like, she would tell me about it and I'd be like, how are you doing this commute? It was like something like 4 or 5 hours a day, like back and forth, like something unreal. Like once you get into like over like a 3 or more hour commute, that's like, whoa, you got to really love what you do.
Yeah, no, it's, and I think that's why she stopped doing it. I think because the commute got really bad because she moved to Pennsylvania. And Jim said the same thing. He's like, I'd love to have her on more, but she's in Pennsylvania. Like she's never in the city. Yeah. So Lauren was on, and then I guess I sort of just started filling that role a little bit. And Jim started asking me for help with things. And so I started bringing him prep. I'll help him book the show. So I just basically kind of started doing more and more of those things, which has been awesome because it gives me more experience, I guess, in the world of all this kind of stuff, which is nice.
Yeah, you're great.
And Jim is awesome.
You're great with the Chip character. Like you can't. It's like it takes us. For anyone who's watched the show, it really takes a certain kind of guest to be good on that show. It's like just because you're a good comic doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna be good on the show. It's like you it's an old improv principle of like truly like yes anding, and you in particular are very good at taking like everything he says and kind of like giving it more meaning, and that is how the show is funny. Like you have to acknowledge, even if he says the smallest thing and you question him about it, like, oh, your dog died when you were little, like how did that happen? And then that becomes a story, or if it's already an established story, he gets to like bring it up again. And it's fun to watch people kind of like poke holes in what he says, or like, and he loves puns, like, which is one of my strengths. Like, you know, anytime I can think of a pun quickly and get it out.
Always good.
He'll do the like, do you know what you just said? And he'll rewind it, and then you got to like say it again, and it's never as good the second time than when you said it in the moment. And it's just so fun and goofy. And I don't know, not that it's not a smart character. It's just like, I think maybe it reminds you of it's like the inner child is very much alive. I think that's what people like.
I think so too. And I think that that's the whole point behind the Chip Chipperson character, is that he's meant to be so ridiculous and so bad and so completely not self-aware of it. And that's sort of the whole thing. And it just becomes really fun.
Yeah.
Especially when you're part of it.
Like how he is with like the ladies. He has this bad, like, and I don't know how it's gotten, I guess over time he's like not brushing the wig, but like the wig is like twisted and weird, and like you're clearly not, like, I own several wigs, so I'm like getting to know about wig care. It's like you got to brush them through, sometimes you got to wash them, sometimes you got to hang it up, and it's like I think he probably just throws it into a bag and then takes it out.
And
it's like just crunched. It used to be like this flowing thing, and now it's just like looks like half a dreadlock. And it's so funny though. It's like part of the charm. And then the face that he has to hold like for an hour plus 2 hours. It's like
the most impressive part to me is the face that he holds. I don't know how he does that. Like I've tried before, because people are like, do Chip, like, and I can't do it. I don't know how he does it. It's amazing. Same thing when he does Doug, which is his newest character that Jim loves.
Doug Bell. Doug Bell was on this podcast.
Was he?
And people were like, I gave no context at all. I just was like, I brought him on like a regular guest. I'm like, oh, Doug Bell, and like all these stories about like back in the day, and a lot of the viewers were very confused and like probably unsubscribed, but you know, it was worth it because it was
such a terrible
funny.
character. I love it. It's so bad. It's amazing. And that's also based on someone who's like overly medicated, has the like little white
always has something in his mouth.
Yeah, the
always.
corner. Oh, it's so terrible.
People think that the Doug Bell character is based off of Opie from Opie and Anthony.
Jim has said it's not, but I don't know. Like he's publicly said it's not based on Opie.
It could be a compilation of like every guy that's kind of like that, like back in the day. Like, so for those of you who've been living under a rock, I've never seen Chip Chipperson. Here's like a sampling. There's the intro, and then this was the most recent one.
This one people hated so much because this girl didn't know what Chip was. I mean, that does sum it up in one word.
How do you know?
Yeah, hold on. Fix your hair, Daddy.
He does the
what did Lainey tell you? Lainey's your publicist.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what she
and he's
said?
one of Lainey's girls,
well,
right? Or
she
just there?
No,
she
said, hey,
okay.
I was
he's
getting
there
my
in
hair
studio,
done
yeah.
2 hours
This is
ago.
at Gas Digital.
Well, you haven't done to it.
Good studio. I filmed
just
some episodes there. So
was
she given no prep on what this was?
Flat iron and all that.
So this was a weird one because we couldn't find anyone.
My mother put an iron on my
for the
back
podcast, and we were it was the last minute, and we asked everybody, and we couldn't.
Lamar was my mother's friend.
Oh no, that happens. Yeah,
so we couldn't find anyone. So I guess he talked to Lainey, who manages a lot of those the porn girls who do porn and things like that.
Yes. Get rent money somehow.
No,
yeah, Lainey's great. She's hooked me up with like a lot of
she's really good. But anyway, she got her on, and Jim asked her like, "Hey, does she know who Chip is?" And she's like, "Yeah, she loves Chip." She clearly did not.
She looks perplexed. But yeah, what's great about Chip is like he has so much merch. He wears his own shirts, which is like, you know, that rule. Like you're not supposed to wear the shirt to the concert, but he shows up wearing his own shirts all the time. But it's great. It's like it's his character. It's so good, and he thinks he like looks so good. He thinks he's so stylish, and then like you just like yes and him like, oh, you look great, Chip, or like
it's my favorite.
Almost like you're his mother, or like he's your retarded brother, and you just be like, you look great today.
Imagine if you were standing here.
You're like, you look so good, Chip. I love your jacket.
Yeah,
that's my favorite thing. My dad got to meet not Chip, but Jim. I was trying to get my dad to come.
He
on
must
Chip.
have been. Was he like starstruck?
He was definitely like, oh wow, this is really cool because he loves Jim's comedy. My little brother loves Jim's comedy. He was listening to Jim when he was like 12 and 13, and my dad was like, this probably isn't appropriate, but oh well.
Yeah. That's how you know somebody is like a real comedy fan, if they are fans of Jim or like Rich Voss or like Opie and Anthony, and like all those guys kind of hung together and kind of came up together. So, oh wow. So what was their reaction to meeting them? They came to a recording, you said, or
no? My dad, he was visiting, and it was actually that show, The City. He was playing a show with his wife, and so he walked me to the show from where we were before that. We were hanging out, and he just came in and met Jim real quick, and they talked for a little bit. But Jim was like, holy shit, your dad's huge. I was not expecting that because
like jacked.
Yeah, because he was a bodybuilder. He doesn't train the same way he used to, but I have to show you his Facebook just because you need to see a picture.
Dad.
Oh my God. The like growing up with this guy as my dad was ridiculous.
You know who also had a hot dad? Well, he's still alive. Chablis Quarterman has a very hot dad.
I don't know who
She's
that
a
is.
comic. She moved out to Vegas, met a beautiful man. It was so funny because for years she like manifested this dude for years. She's like, I need a hot blonde, and then like poof, this man appeared. It's just the power of manifestation.
You can share it if you want, but I dropped it in the private chat, and it's his Facebook, and his banner photo is like what when I was growing up. That's how he looked, and it was ridiculous.
Oh my God! All right. What? Okay, I'm gonna show this. How old is he here?
He was maybe in his 30s, I think, roughly. He was like 20 when he had me. or when I was 4.
Hello, Daddy.
That's who I grew up with as my father. He's not a small man. He's
How
a
tall
big
is
guy. He's not super tall. He's like 5'8". He's actually kind of on the shorter side.
That's tall. I don't know. As long as you're taller than me.
Same.
Tall
I'm
enough.
5'2". Yeah.
Yeah. I was 5'2". I did a lot of Bikram yoga, and then I gained an inch somehow.
Did you? No way.
For real, I'm now 5'3". Yeah. There's your
I'm
dad.
gonna do some. That's his wife. I'm gonna do some yoga.
Cute. Oh yeah, it does. It legit stretches your spine out. So anyone who wants to maybe gain an inch, it's possible. It truly is possible.
I would love to be like 1 inch taller. I don't mind being short, but 5'2" is pretty small sometimes.
So your dad's ripped. Wow. Did that at all shape your picker for guys? Like, did you ever have a phase where you're like, okay, I have to go out with like a jacked guy? But whatever, everybody likes that, you know?
No, I don't. I'm the exact opposite. I think because growing up with my dad, I associate my dad was very loving and he was very affectionate, and I associate that with like father. So I can't date muscular guys. I hate it. I don't like it a little bit. I've gone the opposite where I've dated very skinny guys, and that's kind of been my type forever.
Yeah.
Like
my dad was not hot. I mean, he has it makes me feel nauseous, like to talk about your dad's body, but like he was a landscaper growing up, so he always had a very physical job, and he's German, so like we all grew up with eating disorders because we just like he just even at Thanksgiving, no, you went for a second helping, it was like, what are you doing? Finish your vegetables before you go for any kind of for sure. Definitely it's an ingrained, but that's how Germans are anyway. So yeah, always really physical job, always like up a tree. And then I think he realized in his 40s, like, I can't be up a tree forever. And then he got this sweet like Teamster gig, just driving trucks for the Teamsters, you know, like the lighting truck, the makeup truck, whatever. The least starstruck person on the planet, like couldn't give a fuck about celebrities. And here he has me, a daughter who's like trying to like figure out, kind of hovering around the business, you know. Did he make any introductions? No. Did he like think to like connect me with any? No.
Like, thanks,
but
Dad.
That's fine. I feel like my path I feel like I had so much rejection in my life for a reason, so that I could end up like where I am, kind of like fighting for free speech and kind of like, you know, fighting for the underdog or whatever. So if I had gotten a mainstream kind of like Hollywood path, I think I don't know, I would have had more conflict, I think, because then you would have had more conflict. I'm going to leave all this money to do what is right. Like for me,
you're going to get scrutinized too, to a point where like I keep seeing it happen to so many any famous person, where like some weird old tweet is dug up from like 10 years ago, and it's just like a stupid joke, like something so ridiculous and suddenly they're canceled over it, and you're like, hold on a second. Now we're canceling people for old jokes. Like nobody, that's going to be everyone. That's going to be literally everyone. I just don't understand that. So you would have to then go through all of that. Like now I feel like you're out there and you're owning it, and you're like, no, fuck you. Which you've already started out that together. Way. Yeah.
A couple years ago, I went through my old tweets, I think, because I was like, let me see if I have anything. And I had just like half ideas, like half jokes. It wasn't, you know, it might have been a couple like things that were racist, but they made me laugh. And I'm like, okay, these aren't great jokes. So I deleted them for that reason. But now it's like, if somebody were to dig up something, I would double down. I would be like, no, like that was very, you know what I mean? I just wouldn't, I have no respect for these guys who are like, just turning their backs on their former work or their former jokes and being like, oh no, it's like, fuck you, you're successful.
Like Seth Rogen.
Oh yeah, all of them.
I used to love him, but I've lost so much respect for him and his dumb shit that he keeps saying. I'm like, really? Yeah. And like, I don't really talk about politics, and I don't really get into it very much because it's not my thing. I've never been into it. But I've always considered myself a fairly liberal person, or at least thought I always have been. But and I guess I lean one way or the other, depending, I guess, on the issue sometimes, whatever it is.
You're like a normal person. You're just
like if it, whatever
you're
it is,
not
I'm
like
okay.
Far. Yeah. You're not about to like tip over a statue. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get really crazy either way, depending on what it is. But I have so much respect for people like Dave Chappelle, that because free speech is one of the most important things that we have here in this country. Like anybody that bullets hate speech, it doesn't matter. Even if it is hate speech and someone's legitimately being a hateful fucking asshole, you can still look at him and be like, oh, that guy's a fucking dick. but he should still be able to say it. And I hate people being like, well, free speech isn't,
they're confusing it for hate speech now.
For hate speech now to a point, but it's like, but they still need to be able to say those things. And don't you want those people out there in the open? I don't know. I do.
Right.
Like, don't you want to know who they are? And it doesn't mean, and then you have to be careful because there's a line, right? So you're like, okay, well, this is hate speech. They should have consequences. Like, but what's the consequence? They don't get a life. Like they lose their entire livelihood. Work. They're going to die. Yeah. Like what? And then that line gets blurrier and blurrier because it's like, well, what constitutes hate speech? Someone who doesn't have any hate in their heart and just makes a silly joke that you deem offensive. You can offend anybody with anything. So it's going to get to a weird point where it's, what is it? Is it Demolition Man in the future where like you can't swear? Yeah. We're going to get to a fucking weird point where it's like that. So anybody who's like, well, freedom of speech doesn't mean hate speech. Yes, it does. It means everything.
Yeah.
Like, you might not like it, but that's what it is.
True. I get offended at some of these like far leftist comics because I'm offended at how far from comedy like their performances are. But am I going to stop them from like getting their bag, from getting work? Am I going to call up venues and try to have them? No, I don't have time for that. Like I'm focusing on my own success.
Yeah.
It's crazy that people spend their time doing that. I'm gonna get to a couple of super chats from Nothing John Snowden for 5. Good morning, Chrissy and Zia. Happy belated birthday. You were killing it on Friday Night Tights last night. I loathed several times. Yeah, this is a show that I was mentioning to you, Zia, that I have to get you on there. They would love you there. From Brian S. Appreciate the thighs. Do you mean Zia's thighs or my thighs are, you can't see them.
All thighs.
All thighs
Appreciate
matter.
all the thighs. Yeah.
True. All thighs do matter. Great, excellent point. From Grand Hobbit of the KKK, fear keeps people in line. Absolutely. It's that combo of fear and shame that keeps you low vibrational and small and not wanting to take any risks, not just creative risks, but interpersonal risks, making new friends, putting yourself out there. It expands just, beyond just the world of being a creator. From Sam Adams, Zia is the best. FNT for sure. Could do Ryan Seacrest's job without being a douche. Sing mode.
Those are strong words. Thank you. Sam Adams is from my Twitch chat. That's why he brought up sing mode.
Wait, is this an inside joke that I don't understand?
I sing fucking horribly, but you can redeem points for me to sing, and I'll sing a song, and it's really fucking terrible, but people keep redeeming sing points, and then they just make fun of me.
Oh, that's cute. I'm so not great at singing, but it's fun to do. Like if I can't pull something up, I always sing.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
I always sing "The Girl from Ipanema." I don't know why. That's like a great like elevator waiting room song. Like
I don't know if I know that song. I don't think I've heard that one.
What?
No,
hold the fucking phone. I have to pull it up. I don't know why. It's usually in any movie you see. It's like the background.
Maybe as soon as I hear it, I'll be like, oh yeah, this one.
I hope so. All right, let's forward the ads. This is a lot to do for just one song, but all right.
It sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't know if I really know it.
What the fuck? Maybe you're just young.
Maybe, yeah, maybe I just missed it. But
this is great. Maybe I could get this into my intro song. I need to get an intro song. That's where I'm at in my life.
I love your intro song for Wet Spot. It's like one of my favorite things.
Thank you.
So good.
That song, actually, full props to Frank because he heard it right when I was starting that show. Like at first, I really liked Aerosmith's Pink, and I wanted that to be my intro song.
Good song.
But then Frank heard this song. It was like right away. I'm telling the full story. I really wanted that to be the theme song, and then he heard "Therefore I Am" by Rain Pryor. So, right? No, Rain. Fuck. Who's it by?
You had a random.
Who's it by?
Rain Paris.
Rain Paris. Rain Paris. Okay, so it's a song that like Billie Eilish sings a version of, but this Rain Paris version is better. It's like a little bit edgier.
I like the
grittier.
metal-y. Yeah, I like that metal, the heavy guitars and stuff. I mean, hard rock and metal and grunge is like my music of choice. So of course I'm gonna lean towards that. But I thought it sounds awesome.
Ooh, yeah, maybe I could get Dan Vasc to sing a theme song. He's like the singer guy that we know. Oh, now is a really great time for an ad read. Guys, I don't know if you struggle with anxiety or anything like that, but I could have brought this up when we were
anxiety.
I could have brought this up when we were talking about drugs, but Cushy Dreams, KUSHY dreams.com is the place that I go to get high quality CBD. You can get all the health benefits of CBD without getting high. They do for like very high quality bud in these tins here, the flower, and they also do pre-rolls in packs of 5, which I really love for their portability. Ugh, everything smells so good. It's like it's you're not gonna get high, you're not gonna get the munchies and all that crap. They have different indica sativa blends like hustle, create, relax, dream, peace, energy. So whatever you want to do with your day, Cushy Dreams has you covered. Grown here in the USA, ships to all 50 states, even Hawaii. You can test their lab results. They do tons of tests to ensure compliance and purity. You can find all of that on this tab here on their website. At the checkout, use promo code CMP to get 20% off your order. It's a great time. Give the gift of CBD bud. That was good, right? Okay.
That was great.
I usually just do all the ads at the beginning and then I sometimes forget, but yeah, I wanted to put that song back on. It's good. I see, like, Zia, you're such a perfect example. You're like, oh, I still qualify, still consider myself like a liberal, but you see the value of free speech. And I think when people they react right away, oh, this thing triggers me, or it's like, oh, I have a trans brother or sister, and these jokes about trans people, you shouldn't be able to say that. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, life is hard whether you're like in one of these like protected minority groups or not. Like, we all have struggles, and it's like if you're going to qualify anybody who has any kind of a struggle as somebody or some group you can't make fun of, it's like, well, that leaves basically nobody, which is so boring.
Well, and also the thing is if you're offended by something, and the same thing of people, I saw people tweeting about Dave Chappelle talking about like, nobody's saying that we can't take a joke. It's because we're getting, beat up and people are dying and trans people are getting harassed and blah, blah. And I watched Dave Chappelle special. He never incited violence or said to go out and hurt a trans person. Like, everybody knows that's wrong. And so the people that are out there doing that are bigots. And whether you tell jokes or not isn't going to change the way those people feel.
Right. You're not making their lives easier by not telling jokes.
No, exactly. That's not going to change anything. And I think that you can support something and still make fun of it. And if you don't like the joke, you can just not listen to it. Yeah.
Right.
It's that same sort of thing where people do, and I see this happen all the time. And I see, even sometimes I'll see, what's the word I'm looking for? My brain's not remembering it. But anyway, yeah, where people will be like, well, I don't like it, so it shouldn't exist.
Okay. Yeah. Like classic cancel culture. Classic, like, yeah, I don't like pesto. That doesn't mean other people can't enjoy it. Like, midgets kind of creep me out. That doesn't mean other people can't enjoy them.
Yeah, whatever it is. It's like, I just don't understand. Like, and even if you're always going to be offended by something, I'll every once in a while find myself being like, ooh, about something, but it's an easy thing to just be like,
Zia,
and move on with your life.
Your mom's on the phone. Oh, wait, she's dead.
That was a little late.
That was great, Nick. Nick, we could have used you like 20 minutes ago when we were in the grief section.
Yeah, we were talking. That was like 20 minutes ago. We were talking about that. Oh, being offended over. Oh, he said
he tried.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's talking about being offended over jokes. Yeah, that's what he was getting at there.
I thought I was about to be like, wow, this is amazing. She's back from the dead and she's calling you first.
She's calling me. Oh my God.
Are you somebody who believes like our dead relatives kind of like show up in other ways, like, you know, seeing butterflies or seeing certain numbers or certain things?
I haven't ever really thought about it. I'm kind of on that whole thing agnostic in the sense of like, I have no fucking idea what happens. Could be something, could be nothing. We don't know. I'm open to possibilities.
Yeah.
I don't like, I'm not like, oh, that's so fucking stupid, I'll tune it out. Unless it's psychics. I can't stand psychics or people that
really.
Oh my god!
I used to go.
I'm sorry, Chrissie.
And now I haven't in years. I haven't in a while because the last time I went, I was like, I don't know. I feel like I led this woman into some of these answers because I'm just so open and I love to talk. And I'm like, wait, did I just help her with the reading a little too much? But why do you hate psychics?
Because I think they're taking advantage of people. I think they're massively full of shit and they're taking advantage of people. People who have been through some kind of hurt or trauma and are just looking for something. I think maybe sometimes it'll help someone feel better, but I think more than anything, you're just, yes, as Rock says, scam artist. Yeah, it's a Band-Aid. I never been a fan.
I was definitely less so now, but very take advantageable, I think. One time someone said that I would have been a great candidate for a cult. I just can follow people blindly. No, less so. I have a little bit more of my own thought now, but it is a Band-Aid. It does make you feel good because the psychics, like, they make you feel heard. It's comforting to when someone's telling you things are going to be okay, that good things are going to happen to you. And we all like to think that like everything happens for a reason. And yeah, I think it is mostly like you want to hear that good things are coming. But I think if you have it's definitely a modern day replacement for just like having a real religion. Like, you know, my whole 20s and 30s, I spent like reading these self-help books. And then I met a friend, Elijah Schaefer, who was like, you know, like a lot of this is in the Bible too. Like Proverbs is all like the same self-help stuff, but it's like, it's like the OG self-help book basically. So I don't know. I felt like I spent a lot of years looking for something that was like under my nose the whole time. And not saying everybody has to get religious, but I'm like, oh wow, there's definitely a lot of room for grifting.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to one?
No. I've never. I might go just to check, maybe for like if I wanted to talk about it or something on a show that I was going to do. But otherwise, no, I wouldn't go just to go. And I wouldn't. I wouldn't give them anything.
This was like probably last time I had a full reading. I think maybe it was 2014. I remember I would like you had an appointment. I think this guy was based in upstate New York. Oh God, I think his name's Tim Smith. Like came highly recommended, and a very generic name, right? And you sit in your car and like it was maybe an hour or two, and he does a full like chart reading, which I think is a little bit more legit than just like a psychic, and then you get the recording and you can like listen back to it. I think it's a little bit more. I don't think we're here by accident. So I think there is something to looking at how the planets were aligned the day that we were brought to life. But like anything else, like you shouldn't put all of your eggs in like one basket of anything.
Yeah, I agree. Same sort of thing with like religion. I don't mind people who are religious, but I have a cousin who's like to a ridiculous point where he's like, everything happens for a reason because God decided it. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
He's a nice guy, but he just gets really into it to a point where it's like, all right. And I'm not like shitting on anyone who's religious. I could care less. Whatever you believe in that makes you like happier or feel good. And again, I'm very like agnostic in the sense of like religion could totally be right. I don't think that what people have written is exactly what it is. And I think that's where the fault comes in with religion, is because humans wrote it. But it could absolutely be right. It could be something else. It could be something we couldn't comprehend. It could be nothing. We just have no fucking clue.
Right.
So like, I'm open.
I believe there are genuine channels. There are genuine like mediums, whether it's like for the word of God or whatever, but like also humans are human and want power and money and fame. So it's like how it would be impossible to separate those two kinds of people when forming anything, a religion, government. Usually the people who are leading are the ones that want power and that are not doing it for good reasons. So it's good to be skeptical.
Yeah. But also do
Yeah.
what makes you happy, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. I'm like such a big fan of just doing whatever makes you happy as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, who cares? People spend so much time being mad at what other people are doing. It's like, just worry about yourself, man. If it's not affecting you, just get the fuck over it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Oh yeah, Jordan P. Peterson's School of Christianity. I think there is something to be said, like if you are following your path and you're doing what gives you joy and meaning, and the harder you work at that, I think there's like luck, but I do believe things do come to you and you can manifest, like when your energy is directed at something and like things start clicking.
I actually believe that too.
Yeah.
I actually totally believe that. Manifesting is one of those weird things that I sort of got on board with, and I do believe it. Because I think it's not just about like sitting on your ass and manifesting and be like, no, I'm going to get it. It's when you're manifesting and going after it. It's that combination of things, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just going to land in your lap. Speaking of landing in your lap, you're on OnlyFans. It's a terrible segue. If people are interested in your OnlyFans, are you still doing that here and there?
I am still doing it. Yeah.
You do a lot of cosplay stuff, which is fun. And if people want, you have an Amazon wish list. So if people want to help you do your cosplay thing, you have some like cute kind of costumey things on there that they can send you and other gifty things. I'm still getting, I have an Amazon wish list, but it's really like 90% books about conspiracy theories. So.
That helps though, because then you can talk about it.
Yeah. Like, if you want to send me a book about the World's Fair.
Nothing wrong with that. If you want to check out my OnlyFans, check it out. It's an awesome way to support me, and you get to see some pretty awesome, spicy content there. It's twitch.tv. Twitch too, I also stream. I'm so used to plugging that. Onlyfans.com/Zealand. It's XIALAND. That's a good time. Good time for all.
Yay. And follow, what are your other social media things that people can follow you on?
At Zia_land on Twitter and Instagram, XIA_land. I'm getting really close to 10,000 followers on Instagram, and I just really want to use this swipe up
on
feature.
Instagram. Yes, I had it. It's a great feature. And then my Instagram is deleted. So I'm at like almost 9,000. I'll get there eventually. But everyone follow Zia on Instagram.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Twitch. Check out my Twitch. I also stream on Twitch, and I love food and I love snacking. And so that's like a big part of it. Sunday snack streams are probably my most popular and favorite stream.
Would you consider yourself a mukbanger?
No, I don't sit and eat copious amounts of food. Jesus,
Okay.
I'd be huge. I've already had to lose some weight that I gained when I moved here, like a chunk. But I just try different snacks. It's always something I've never had before.
Okay, cool.
So
awesome.
fun.
Yay, Zia, you're the best. Thanks for coming on. Thank you,
for
chat,
having me.
for your questions, comments, and super chats and everything. Zia, I adore you. Thanks for coming on.
I adore you. Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Old Curdy bastard, thank you. Until next time, guys. Bye.